So you hired a web designer, maybe paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars to make something that looks halfway decent, and maybe even also ran some Facebook ads or Google ads to bring traffic to the website. But for some reason, it seems like the page just isn't really doing its job. People aren't signing up for your program, they aren't buying whatever it is you want or just contacting you. And so you're wondering, what did I do all this for? What's wrong with it? Why isn't it working? So today I'm going to be talking about some of the main issues that people have with their websites, why they just might not be converting, what the common problems are, and hopefully helping you a little bit more on your way to solving the problems so that you can get the leads that you need to get to operate your business. First, why should you listen to anything that I have to say? My name is Zach. I've been a software developer for the last 12 years. I've also been running a marketing agency named Braxter for the last 7, in which we've been able to generate over $13 million in revenue for our clients. So as I'm sure you can understand, I have a lot of experience on both sides, the actual technology side, as well as the marketing side of things. So let's just get right into it. The first thing, which is a very common issue and can actually happen even more so the fancier your website can be, and that is the load time. Now, you might think that because everybody has really high-speed internet in all the modern parts of the world, that this wouldn't be such an issue. But the problem is, the fancier the technology gets, the fancier the effects all become. And modern web designers can kind of chase using the latest technologies and the fanciest effects in order to kind of make things look even better. But the problem is that can end up being a drag on the actual load time of the website. Now, we're not talking about big time differences here, but apparently even up to 50% of traffic can be lost by just exceeding 3 seconds of load time. So if you check your website and it doesn't feel like it's loading much faster than 3 seconds, you might be losing a significant portion of your traffic just because of that. So imagine paying $1,000 a month for Facebook ads and then losing half of that traffic just because the page itself wasn't fast enough. Now, you might be thinking, but my website is not that complicated, it's not that fancy, so why could it be loading slow still? Well, sometimes, ironically enough, people or web developers or designers, they can install analytics software. And these analytics softwares actually can decrease the load time of the website because they're actually blocking the page load time. Funny enough, it can also affect your overall page ranking with Google. So if you don't have a good enough page load time, your page might not even be shown to people as often in Google search as it would have been. As another side effect, your Google ads will then be continuously downranked, meaning that you're going to be paying more for less traffic just because Google knows that your page doesn't convert that well, which means people aren't having that positive of an experience with your website. So if you didn't realize how important your page load time could be, hopefully now you're able to see the large effects that it can have. It can be a struggle to get the page load time down. It can take a lot of extra work, but it is well worth it. Even the best of companies still struggle with just getting a few extra milliseconds out of their page load. But spend some time on it. As long as your website isn't too complicated, it shouldn't get out of budget or anything. But you do want to make that a focal point when you're getting your website either set up or maintained, that it doesn't become worse over time. Now, the next point is the copywriting. Now, copywriting, I would argue, is probably the most important aspect of your website. Good copywriting is essentially like a free salesperson that's working for you. Now, of course, if your website design is nice, that's great. That establishes that you have good taste or you have a high quality reputation or brand appeal. But the copywriting is what actually helps the customer or potential customer at this point to understand that you understand them. And this cannot be emphasized enough, that the customer at this point, when they're contacting you, they have a problem in their life and they are trying to both resolve that problem as well as stay within their budget make sure that they're not getting tricked by somebody who isn't that good at the task at hand. And so by using your words, you can influence them to understand that you can solve the problem, that you care and you have a attention to detail and are convincing, charismatic. And the words that you put on the page is what will help them to decide to actually take that next step. So here are some signs that maybe your copywriting just isn't up to par and is not doing a great job of actually converting people. If you're getting a ton of traffic to the page and yet they're just not taking that next step, it might be that either they don't feel understood or you aren't giving them enough direction or clear direction to take the next step. So imagine having a salesperson that you're talking to, you're thinking of buying something, and you're going through all of the details of the product. They've fully informed you about everything. You're totally ready to go ahead and buy, and yet they just never even tell you, okay, let's go ahead and finalize this. Let's get your invoice ready. Please insert your credit card here. They just never go for the close. Well, that's what it's like when you have a landing page or a web page that doesn't actually have a call to action. You have a ton of information, but you, as the buyer, you've never had this transaction before happen. So you don't really know what the next step is. Do I just give them my information? Are they going to send somebody to my house to inspect? Or do I need to get an estimate? I don't know what the next step is. I'm not the one who does this all the time. You, as the provider of the service, need to make it clear for them what is the next step so that you can hold their hand and guide them along the way to take it. So you should have essentially a clear call to action at multiple points throughout your page. A call to action would just be, that's just a term for something very simple like book now, get a quote. You see buttons like this on web pages all the time. Buy now. Add to cart. All of these are calls to action. And again, you don't want to have this just one time on the page. A lot of the time you'll see this in the hero section or the top portion of a web page, and it will just say a headline, a basic description of the headline, and then buy now. But what about people that haven't been fully convinced yet? Maybe they can't just make a purchasing decision based off of your headline. So they continue down the page to find additional information. What's their experience with this? I want to read some of their reviews. What's their pricing? These are all things that people might need to see before they go ahead and take the next step. So if you have your reviews a little bit further down the page and then the pricing a little bit further down the page, you want to also have a call to action again. It doesn't have to be in every section, but you do want to make it something regular that you're peppering it in, basically. You don't want to be overwhelming. Like, imagine a salesperson that's just asking you every 20 seconds, hey, are you ready to buy now? Hey, are you ready to buy now? That would be really annoying. So we don't want to overwhelm them, but at the same time, we don't want to let them forget what they're actually here to do, and that is to proceed to make an appointment. Go ahead and add to cart. So just keep that in mind as you're working with your web designer or copywriter to make the page, that there does need to be a clear call to action throughout, not just the homepage, but any page on the website. Now, as far as actually putting the rest of the wording on the actual page, like the headline or slogan, body text, it can be kind of complicated for people to figure out what is the best wording. Don't I just say what we do and that's it? Well, yeah, but the problem is if you use too much industry jargon or you're just talking about your business all the time and saying we've been in business for 23 years, which is good information, that is probably not what the customer has in mind. Now, saying that you've been in business for 23 years is good in that it helps the person to understand you are good enough at your work that you've been able to stay in business for that long. But maybe they're thinking more so about their problem. And, I'm not going to get too into the weeds of like customer psychology, but one really great insight that I picked up by studying conversion copywriters a ton is VOC, which stands for voice of customer. So essentially what they will do is they will just read hundreds and hundreds of reviews of customers to identify the pain points and the things that they care most about, and then using their wording in the copywriting that they're making. For example, if your customers, or maybe even your competitors' customers, are constantly talking about how it took the stress out of buying a car, or you took the stress out of car repair, or replace it with whatever your industry issues are, then that is something that you would want to address. Maybe even your headline: we take the stress out of getting car repair. So that in that way, you don't have to guess, well, what do they want me to put? I'm not a creative writer. It's not supposed to be like a creative writing exercise. It's really just to emphasize that you understand what their worries are and that you can solve them. So what's a better way to do that and to figure that out? Because you can't read their mind, just go read what they wrote down. So this is a really, really powerful tactic that I'd highly recommend that you do. I think you're going to find it pretty interesting once you start experimenting and realizing it's actually not that hard to do. It's probably even easier than trying to come up with some very fancy headline, because this page, again, it's not a creative writing exercise. People aren't coming to you for fancy wording. People don't have a lot of time, or at least they don't think that they do. And so because of that, every time they come to a web page, again, like in the first 3 seconds, they're just trying to figure out, is this what I'm looking for? Or do I need to look somewhere else? So if you can clearly point out, yes, this is what you're looking for, we do it, it's going to be easy, we've done it a lot. That's all you need to do. And then you take them to the next step with that call to action. Another thing that you can think about is how simple is the language that you're using on the page. Some people might use what's called a grandma test. Like, could you show this page to a grandma without explaining it to her? And can she understand everything that you're talking about? Does she know what the page is doing and what the point of the page is? And if that isn't the case, you probably have a problem on your hands. You want everybody to be able to understand what it is that you do. You don't need to impress them with how fancy it sounds and even maybe how fancy the page looks. You just want to be clear. And if it's not clear, then you win nobody over. But if it's clear, you're going to convert the customers that you want, the people that you are trying to work with. And that's all that you're shooting for, really. And now for the next point, let's move back up the funnel a little bit and talk about the traffic that you're getting in the first place. How do you know that the people that are coming to your page are actually the right people? Are they cheap traffic that maybe you ran a Facebook ads traffic campaign on? Well, those might not actually be the right kind of people that will sign up for your service. Sometimes it might be easy to think that, well, if I just get more people to my website, then as long as it catches a few people, then that should be all that it takes, right? Unfortunately, that's not really the case, because the internet is a very big place, and so cheap traffic is actually pretty easy to get. But think about it. It's cheap because it's not worth that much. Because if it was worth more, they wouldn't be giving it to you for so little. So you do want to make sure that you're getting traffic from the right sources. If it's from organic social media, meaning free, like people that are following you on Instagram or TikTok, whatever, and they are going to your website and manually choosing to do it, then they're probably going to be somewhat high quality because they truly want it. They had to go and look up your company, right? But if it's paid traffic, you have to make sure that you're choosing the right objectives, you're targeting in the correct countries. It's not going to help a real estate agent in New Jersey if you are running ads in India, right? That's pretty obvious. It's also not going to help you if you're not targeting the correct age demographic. So you want your targeting to be accurate enough so that you are getting high quality traffic, because low quality traffic is just never going to convert. And you would be shocked at how many website visitors you can get that just never convert. So what's the solution? Well, you would need to make sure that in the example of Facebook or Google, you're picking conversion as the objective and being clear as to what type of product or service that you're offering. If it's something that people are able to purchase directly on the website, you need to choose that option in the actual ads managers. If it's something more like a lead generation page, then you need to choose that. The ads platforms are really good at selecting the right people as long as you give them good quality creative, meaning like the actual ad, picture and text that you give them, as well as letting them target the right people. They can target the people by themselves, and you just need to be clear as to what you're asking for. Basically, this is my ad, this is what I want the people to do, and then Facebook or Google will find the right people to fill in that gap. So these three main points are the things that I would focus on if I was trying to troubleshoot why my traffic isn't working, why it's not getting through to the next step, or maybe I have a high bounce rate, meaning people that just get on the page and leave straight away. Those are the first things that I would go to. So I encourage you to spend some time on it, maybe even just improve those aspects, even if you do already get some lead flow through it, and you should see an uptick. But that's all for today. I hope that that was helpful to you. Let me know how it goes in the comments, but thank you for watching. Bye.